knew it. See? I knew. They were all going to be so chic.
That's bright. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here. I thought we would start out with some introductions, so I can go first. I'm a model with IMG, and I'm building in the fashion AI space. We're with shopARI. We're building an AI personal stylist, and I'll be moderating. So, yeah, feel free to take it away.
Amazing, thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Marjorie Hernandez. I'm the co-founder of a venture called LUKSO, which is a blockchain protocol for the new creator economy. And simultaneously to that, I co-founded a second venture called the Dematerialize, which is an e-commerce for digital products.
Hi, Simone. I'm the CEO and co-founder of POCLab. POCLab is a culture and virtual experiential company. We merge consumers with brands in meaningful ways. We're a purpose-driven company, so our focus is really to ensure the visible representation and accessibility of Black and brown communities, LGBTQAI+, disabled communities, ensuring that we like to say we don't look at technology as a product, but as a story, and the story we want to tell is one of inclusion.
Hi, everyone. I'm Roxanne Iyer. I'm the COO of SYKY, SYKY. SYKY was started by Alice Delahunt, who was the former chief digital officer of Ralph Lauren and at Burberry, and came over to start this incredible company. We're a luxury fashion platform. We have an incredible community of designers, and we have a group of 10 designers that we've selected from all around the world. They're called the SYKY Collective, and our goal is to nurture and mentor and give them access to the more traditional fashion industry. A month ago, we had Nicola Formichetti join SYKY. He's one of the most renowned stylists in the world and has worked with Mugler, with Diesel, and with Lady Gaga. And so we're starting to see this influx of just the fashion industry come into Web3 and the two worlds kind of merge. And so SYKY, we believe we're at that intersection of traditional fashion and emerging Web3, and with a mission of giving emerging designers more access in the space.
Love that.
Cool, amazing. So excited to be talking with you guys. So I wanted to start this off with a quote from Ian Rogers, who was the ex-head of digital at LVMH. And he said once that when you give a creative community a blank canvas, it's only a matter of time before they blow your mind. And this wasn't a recent quote, but I think it has a lot of application today with everything we see coming out, whether it's like the Apple VR headset or like every new like innovation on blockchain and everything like that. And I'm curious what you guys see and envision for how these new innovations are going to empower creatives and kind of like expand the service area for creation.
I'm happy to take this one. When we started LUKSO, my co-founder Fabian and I, we were part of the Ethereum ecosystem for a long time, and we met where we were both studying design in Germany. And for us, one of the fascinations when we first encountered Web3 and blockchain technology was how this will impact the creator economy and how will it actually allow for a creator economy to emerge in a way that we didn't have it and didn't exist at the time. So it was very interesting back then when we would have conversations with people in early 2018 saying like, hey, we're moving on and we're starting this protocol called LUKSO, and we published this white paper, the blueprint for a new creator economy, and people will say like, oh, you guys are so smart, why are you not doing DeFi? And we were like, well, one is like our passion, but this is like a legitimate business, and it's like a proper, like a real thing that people will really, once they have the tools and the things that Web3 allows for creators to have the ownership of their IP and their identity and their virtual identity, and we as users to be able to not only display ourselves with the with the setup that we were giving in the physical world, but be able to exist between mixed realities and kind of like see ourselves in different ways and represent ourselves in different ways, and also as creators to be able to have more than one giving identity, for us was an incredibly exciting proposition. So that's what we've been doing since then, and then I think I could only echo the sentiment that Ian shared, because I think for us, we explore a lot of ideas and a lot of things of what has been done and can be done, but I think, what I'm most looking forward is to see the pieces of technology that we're putting into the world. How will those things translate and see what people will do with it, and how they can take the ideas that we have or ideas that we didn't even think about, how they will take that and move it forward into like completely even more incredible things that we thought were possible.
Amazing.
I think the way that we're even looking at creativity or talking about creativity, when you see AI and like emerging technology, creativity has always been an asset class. Creatives have always been creating a commodity that has not always properly been able to monetize. If you're an artist, like when you're looking at the gallery system, it works towards the gallery, so it's constantly leaning towards the platform, leaning towards, here we're talking about creators actually being able to benefit from what they're developing, and then additionally, looking at creativity beyond the gatekeeping. I would say that most people, like an artistry or a designer, it's a very locked, closed system. For you to move through it, it's a lot of stuff that you're jumping over, where now with AI and these new technologies, it's not going to replace creativity, but it will change the way we look at it. So I have a friend that worked with our project. She's a stylist. She's never designed before. She has found a way to master Midjourney and created an entire collection that was then launched on Revolve. That is now an entirely new future for her work, future for her creativity. Her styling was always very creative, but technology has allowed her something new to develop. And I think when we're looking at the technology, instead of thinking this is going to replace and everything's going to go away, we should be looking at how we can use it to expand creativity and really create new opportunities. And those designers and artists and things that are being created, it's going to be fascinating. And I'm really excited to see those that may have not had those opportunities. Like as a stylist, she couldn't have gone to a house and been like, I want to be a designer now. But with these tools, she is a designer now.
I actually just want to build on that, because I think when you use the word gatekeeping, that's such, when you think about the fashion industry and how hard it is to break through for a creator, I think the CFDA did a study a few years ago where if you're a designer and you want to show at Fashion Week, it can cost you anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000. And there's no emerging designer that can do that on their own, right? You either go to the best schools in major cities, or you work for a major house, and then somewhere down the line, years down the road, maybe you can make it and be part of a major show. But to do that as an emerging designer today is so incredibly hard. And I love the fact that with all that's happening with technology, there is so much access that's being afforded today. So if you look at one of the designers that we launched in September at London Fashion Week, her name is Fandrawi Sun. She's part of the SYKY collective. She's 23 years old, moved from China to London, taught herself English. In 8 months, when she graduated, she was showing at London Fashion Week. She sold a digital and physical bag that sold at that time for 1.47 ETH. So in today's value, about $6,000. There was the bidding war that finally ended, with one of our buyers getting her bag. $6,000, a bag at $6,000 competes with a Chanel, a Dior. I think of the major fashion houses, and this is a 23-year-old designer who, based on her merit and her talent, didn't go to the best design schools, didn't come from a major fashion city, was able to build a community and start a brand, which is really incredible, and I think we'll start to see more of that.
That's amazing. I love how it was brought up that these tools are actually expanding creative boundaries and not replacing creatives, because I feel like that's usually the first gut reaction that creatives have when they see these tools come out. I, from firsthand experience, have seen in the fashion industry, there's some hesitancy sometimes with fear, basically, about how the industry is going to change. Will things be replaced? Will creativity essentially be like streamlined? And I usually use this example of like a historical example to sort of like alleviate those nerves, which is the example of like the camera, where when the camera was invented, painters were probably like nervous about that, but then it just expanded the boundaries of what painting can be with like abstract. There was no longer an expectation for like realism, things like that. And then there was a whole new, area of creativity, which is photography. And so I'm curious, all of you work with really big brands that have been native to these creative spaces and haven't really dabbled so much in tech, and you have all been kind of like that first step. How do you navigate those conversations? Because I'm sure that at least a couple times when you work with those partners, there's a couple team members that might be nervous or skeptical about it.
I mean, I think there is always a fear when a new technology emerges about how that's going to impact the heritage that we have until this point in time. In our experience, has been quite interesting because we face very little skepticism from fashion brands. And I think that was partially fed from the whole e-commerce, kind of like missing e-commerce wave and thinking, okay, e-commerce is going to go away. And then they realized it didn't. And I think there was an openness to technology sense and in that sense. And I think, for us in the conversations, primarily it goes like, how do we translate the ethos of the brand into something that goes beyond the physicality of it or the craftsmanship of it? And how will it translate into a world that primarily maybe physical products is not your main segment, and how we can take what the brand had to kind of like propose forward. So I think those are mostly of the conversations that we've been having. And I think in that sense, we see a lot of optimism from the brands, 100%.
That's amazing.
I think from our perspective, so we just launched the Cultureverse with Walmart, so it was focused on the 50th anniversary of hip-hop. I don't think anyone thinks Walmart and hip-hop, but the purpose of it was the fact that they had a Black and Unlimited platform, and they really wanted to supercharge Black creativity. So we were able to bring in 25 different Black and brown brands that had never participated. Some of them were from the early 90s that were literally starting the trends. And then we're able to now move into what the future of hip-hop and the future of all lifestyle and culture becomes. And I think with branded, for us at least, when you say metaverse, what we're really living in is an attention economy. Attention is now a commodity, and brands want the attention of consumers. And how are they doing that? They can't just continue to use this advertising model that's really just pushing product, pushing product, pushing product. But by creating these immersive experiences, whether they're gamified or just digital experiences, you're able to now connect with your customer in a very different way. You're able to create fans that are actively participating in your brand. So what we're creating is persistent brand destinations. And whether that's something that makes sense to the brand or not, your digital identity does not need to align. And I think in that aspect, when you're looking at the expansion of imagination and creativity, these are all the things that these virtual environments allow brands to do. So we've been very lucky at our company. We do focus on meaningful experiences. So we look at marketing, innovation, and social impact. How are we going to create spaces that everyone feels seen in? How do we disrupt the gaming stereotypes that have existed? How do we ensure that everyone is seen as they're moving through, and ensure that the space is created to really empower and expand? So from a branding conversation, again, an hour, if you can get an hour of a consumer's time, a brand is all, hey, we're happy. Where everywhere else it's more difficult. And when we're looking at the future of content, it will be through immersive experiences. We're really bullish on that.
Yeah, I'd add to what Simone thinks and Marjorie is saying, because I totally agree with that. I think we see a lot of the emerging technology that's coming in as not so much as a replacement, but a catalyst. And for any creative or designer that's in the field, I feel like some of these conversations happened a few years ago with Photoshop, right? There's stuff happening right now on social media, but other than that, like most people are used to, a little bit of Photoshop. It's just, it was such a controversy when it came out. It's such a norm for the most part today. If you go onto our site, you'll see that we're selling a piece by KWK that was born by Beyonce, the physical and the digital. And part of the digital utility is, as a designer or creator, you get to download the 3D file, or we'll create it for you, and you can port it into a sandbox or a Roblox or a Fortnite or wherever you need to. And so that idea that like tech can be such a catalyst is so age-old and timeless, and I think it's more of a catalyst today than it ever was. I think you asked the question about brands, and I love the Walmart example. I used to head up marketing at Clinique, and this space was a space that we had never ventured into for a really long time, until we saw how much of an impact we could make. So we started to notice that if you are in Web3, if you are an avatar of color, if you're a woman, or if you have a skin condition, you trade or sell at 40% less. And so what Clinique came in to do was to add makeup in the virtual world to some of these avatars, and so to help increase their value, because there was so much potential to use tools and to use technology to build just a better world that was more diverse, and to undo some of the wrongs that have happened in social media. So I think there's so many use cases for how we can use technology to enhance and to be a catalyst. I think the Walmart example is such a great one, and there's so many more use cases that are coming up.
I love the Clinique example, because I feel like from both sides, when we merge both the creative spaces and the tech side, there is so much gatekeeping and so many problems in diversity. With tech, it's the obvious, very male-dominated, and then on the creative side, especially like fashion industry and otherwise, it's very much like gate-kept and relationship-based. So I'm curious how you are all approaching thinking about that and using this sort of like paradigm shift in the industry for both to sort of catalyze better, a more inclusive ecosystem.
So we founded our company for that exact reason. I came from a fashion background. When I first heard about blockchain, Web3, I was like, yes, equality, democratization, like all the things. And then I walked into NFT now and went, what? And it was like, I'm sorry, I'm confused. So for us, we founded it understanding that we can actually change the things we know that are wrong. Virtual environments. I think there is a vastly different value system for every one of you that's involved with Web3. I think that we entered it for a reason that was transparency, freedom, ownership. That's a very different value system than everyone else is offering. And unfortunately, the marketing of it got a little lost, but as we're moving forward, I do think there's a strong commitment to understand that we are offering something of value for everyone. And in theory, it is the most inclusive technology because it allows a global connectivity from a financial aspect and ownership that does not matter the color of your skin, your sexuality. I mean, there may be a day when how we're being, let's say, targeted has more to do with what's in our wallet, not who we are as a person, not what I searched or that the fact that I'm female between this age and blah, 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 blah. But based on the fact that I like going here, I bought this, here are all my digital assets, and now we've moved past to the next level where we're stopping this kind of data box set that you fit here. And so I think the technology in itself, it's now just up to us to ensure that we are building it with that mindset involved.
100%, and I think, you know, when I totally agree with what you said, and I feel like when I was growing up in Venezuela, at certain points, the world felt like it's happening somewhere else. And I feel like one of the most beautiful things I ever read was a quote that it says, technology takes something that used to be scarce and makes it abundant. And I think that abundance of access is something that I really look forward to. Like we understand, like right now we exist in a world in which we have a very Western like perspective, which is great, but also the access of, like, and the pools of talent that the world has access to is limited. And we are collectively missing out on having those people having a voice and having an access to the market and being able to see what will they create if they have the opportunity. So I think one of the things that inform a lot of the decisions that we take collectively at LUKSO is to see how can we make sure that the tools that we're creating access and they're available for the largest amount of people. And then maybe by a few consequences after, we will have I don't want to say democratization, but we will have the ability to call that talent in, and they can enter the market, and potentially the next biggest designer and creator comes from a place that normally would have been unexpected. And we always use Virgil Abloh as the example in terms of, like, I think he was the definition in many ways of the creator economy as somebody who worked across disciplines. And if his parents would have never left Ghana and moved to Chicago, would have he have the ability of doing that? Exactly. And I think we're missing a lot of Virgils and the likes in different places.
Yeah, I think that diversity and access is really hard. I just remember being part of the early days of social, and I've spent so much of my career in beauty, and saw the impact that social media had on suicide rates, depression, self-awareness of teenagers. And I think that if you're in this room and you're building, you're really early, and we have the chance to build a different world. But I think it takes real work, because if you look at what's happening today, only 10% of funding goes to women-led organizations. Only 5% of leaders in Web3 are women. And that's an alarming stat, because if your company and your brand doesn't represent that diversity, there's no way for it to naturally happen. I think technology can be such a great equalizer, and it can be also an enabler of the status quo. And so I think it takes real work and a real mission to be conscious of it. I think it's great that we're early and we're building, and we can make conscious decisions on who we hire. And even the panel sitting here today might have been unusual a couple of years ago when talking about Web3, and it's incredible to celebrate that. If you look at the SYKY collective, we had applications, and we made a conscious effort not to go to major fashion cities and not to just look at major fashion schools. We had applications from every continent in the world except for Antarctica. Maybe we'll get that next year. But there were thousands of applications, and the 10 designers, there's a fashion house from Nigeria, there are designers from China, from South Asia, from South America, and those are the designers that would never have that access, that now have mentors like the CMO of Calvin Klein or the right hand of Anna Wintour at Vogue. They get a chance with the British Fashion Council to showcase at a London Fashion Week or in New York. There's a conscious effort being made by I think everyone on the stage to make sure that access is not something that we assume will happen, but that we're actively taking steps to make sure that it does.
Thank you guys so much. This was a great conversation.
Thank you.
Let's give it up for a great panel.